Loading. Welcome to Access the Animus.
Hello everyone and welcome to the second part of the videos dedicated to our first impressions about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. As previously mentioned, in the last few days our team was able to get their hands on a demo of the game, and in our first video we have discussed important topics like combat, stealth and navigation. This time instead we're going to tackle the game's world and some of its side activities before delving into the sound department and finally into the story shown in the demo. So without further ado, let's get started. The demo featured the entire area of East Anglia, one of the 4 kingdoms that will make up the map of England in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. The environments look beautiful, with some breathtaking vistas and landscapes, and while the biome is mainly the same throughout the region, the mood of different areas can change very fast depending on the zones the player can stumble upon. Being able to witness only one biome though made the area we explored a bit too similar to those seen in some of the RPG games of the past few years. We did try to sail towards the edge of the map to see if we could find different environments, but to no avail. The beautiful landscape was a worthy reward though. Toying around with the region also gave us the chance to have a better idea of some of the modern day locations that have been recreated in their Viking Age versions in Valhalla. Players will be able to find, and sorry for the pronunciation here, Northwich, which is present-day Northwich, Berg Castle, Elmenham, which is present-day North Elmham, Theoford, which is present-day Thetford, the rivers Wensum and Yare, Beodricksworth and Kingsbury, which is present-day Bury St Edmunds, Grantebridgesshire, present-day Cambridgeshire, Essex and Oxenfordshire, which is present-day Oxfordshire, and many more locations. Each of the game's main regions and kingdoms will hold several information, items and unlockable to find. These will be divided into 3 main categories: wealth, mysteries and secrets. Some of them will be shown or indicated on the map as major locations of interest, while some others will have to be found by the player. The exploration of the various areas within the region felt more interesting than in the recent Assassin's Creed games, in that when visiting an outpost or monastery, you're not doing it for the usual random and repetitive treasure chests with little to no use to the player. Most areas do seem to have different and sort of meaningful rewards, like a new unique weapon, a new book of knowledge ability, a new boss fight, or more. Overall, this organization of the points of interest feels fresh enough to give it a try, even though we wonder how that feels while playing the entire game and clearing the entire map. The game also contains the so-called world events, that is, little and short quests that are identified by a balloon over an NPC or an NPC speaking close to Eivor. These quests help the player get immersed in the world, but also in Eivor's personality. And who knows, through one of these events you might even be able to jokingly recruit a cat for your ship.
Do you want to join my crew, Nali? You would make a fine raider, I think. Every longship needs a brave cat for luck, and for the rats.
Going back to the world itself, exploring might also lead you to find berries and mushrooms naturally growing in the world, which can either directly restore health or adrenaline, or, if collected, can also be transformed into rations, the game's medicines that can be used to replenish the health bar. The most important elements that act as a reward for exploring, though, are the side activities, which are plentiful as it is now a tradition for the Assassin's Creed franchise. The game has a plethora of side activities that might keep you busy for a long time depending on your interests. For example, the game will feature flighting, that is a historically based competition consisting of the exchange of insults between 2 parties conducted in verse. Players will have to choose the wittiest answer that rhymes with the opponent's statements.
Silent whispers all claim that you're terribly dense.
Then you have clearly misheard them. My wit is immense.
Take the coin, and know that only praise will henceforth cross my lips.
Players will also be able to partake in drinking games, an activity that might be very thematic to the setting of the game but looks a bit repetitive gameplay-wise. As any classic RPG nowadays, Valhalla will also allow you to fish anywhere you'd like. Once you reel in your fish, the game will also tell you what regions the same kind of fish can be found in. Another activity you might be interested in is building cairns, that is, building a stack of stones that must keep their balance. Cairns have been historically used for a variety of purposes since the prehistoric times, like burial monuments or ceremonial purposes. In this case, building them and keeping the stones balanced will also be tied to story elements. The game will also feature the so-called standing stones, which are puzzles where some ancient stones or timbers have some design depicted on them, and the player is required to find the right perspective while looking at the stones to recreate that design. This activity seems to be somehow connected to the first civilization, or maybe that's just our impression. There are also several kinds of collectibles to find. For example, while roaming the world, you could reach a pagan area where you will have to find a cursed symbol through a parkour challenge and destroy it. Another example of collectibles are the flying papers, which are documents that will be flying across the world and can be reached through some parkour challenges, much like the sea shanties pages from Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. The demo also contained shops for items and mounts, but they were not available to interact with. The same goes for what seems to be an interesting spin on the game of Dice, where two players duel while invoking god favors. And lastly, the demo also contains something very interesting for hardcore fans, but we are not allowed to talk about it yet, so that will have to wait for now. Oh, and you can pet the dog and possibly other animals. That's very important to state. Do as Ara Serenica and just find the prompt to pet it. Don't do as I did. Just don't. One of the main focuses of the marketing campaign, raids are the classic activity that you would expect out of a Viking warrior and clan leader. The demo we tested contained two raids, one that was part of the main story, the other as a standard side activity. The main objective of this activity is to loot all the main treasure elements that are hidden in the locations subjected to the raid, all the while killing the guards protecting it. The activity can be approached in two ways: going head-on, activating the raid by sailing with the longship close to the location and fighting through the guards while setting the buildings on fire. Or you could access the raid location on your own stealthily. In the demo, the raid location was a distrust area, so the player could infiltrate it and take out the guards before initiating the actual raid. In some cases, it will also be possible to just stealthily infiltrate the raid location, steal the loot, and sneak away without even formally initiating the raid. Assaults instead are part of the narrative and story quests, and are these massive sequences where Eivor and a group of soldiers assault a specific location, like the castle shown in the demo, for story reasons. Throughout these missions, Eivor and their companions will have to go through different areas, sometimes using the light ram or by passing gates using parkour and navigation. These will be massive battles where enemy soldiers will not only stand on the ground but also be placed on the ramparts, showing fire arrows or throwing fired oil over Eivor and their companions. The demo's assault also involved a boss fight in the end, which can be both taken head-on or avoided by trying to stealth kill the main target. That is, if you're better than us at the Hidden Blade minigame. Unsurprisingly, the sound department, and specifically the ambience music, the skaldic songs played by your crew, the ballads sung by the NPCs, and obviously the soundtrack itself are beautiful, so much so that it makes you want to just stop what you're doing and listen. Like we said, this doesn't surprise us, considering the soundtrack is developed by veteran Assassin's Creed composers Jesper Kyd and Sarah Schachner, along with Vikings composer Einar Selvik. As for the voice acting, specifically what concerns the main characters, our team had mixed reactions after testing the demo. For some of us it felt a bit plain and weak, while others feel like they need to get used to the two voices of Eivor before getting a proper judgment.
Oswald is king, and a king must have a champion. I will fight in his stead.
And they are sorely mistaken. I'm known for my might.
So, do you agree or disagree? The demo had a 1.5/2 hours main story quest arc, or a chunk of it considering the demo already started in the middle of things. The story revolves around Eivor trying to help putting a new king called Oswald, hopefully supported by both Saxons and Danes, on the throne of the East Anglia region, all the while freeing it from a rogue Viking called Rued, with the final objective of forging an alliance between this new king and his or her clan. While we'll have some dedicated footage to show this chunk of the main story, we can confirm what narrative director Darby McDevitt stated earlier in the campaign. The story of this quest arc does look like a Shakespearean 5-act structure, where the climax isn't at the end, but in the middle. Then the game allows to follow up with what's happening with all the main characters involved in the story through the final acts of the arc. As mentioned by McDevitt, many quest givers will stay in the world after their quest is done, which is something that is directly shown in the demo. The arc also sort of showed some bits of Eivor's personality beyond the usual visceral Viking warrior trait that's been pushed so much in the campaign, which we really appreciated, along with the fact that Eivor's choices were indeed contained within the spectrum defined by their character. And that was it for this video. We hope to have brought you a first set of information and opinions about some of the most important features of the game, and we're very interested in knowing your opinions about them. If you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon, as we'll have a lot more to show you in the coming days, along with some deep dives on some of the features we have discussed today. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.